tonight's game?
Well, I'm not sure I could have wished for an awful lot more than I saw tonight from the guys. A little bit of an adaptation to the way that we've played, certainly for the half the season last year and through the majority of pre-season, and they've taken on board a lot of information and applied it wonderfully well today. It was absolutely vital that we broke up the rhythm of this very talented Sounders group, and especially at home. To give them no opportunity of getting on top and building their confidence. The guys worked tirelessly. They, made sure that they kept their shape. They offered plenty of quality when in possession. And ultimately, we found a way through in a very, very tight game to take in all 3 points.
Thank you, Coach. A reminder to everybody, please raise your hand if you have a question for Coach or any of the players who will be coming after him. We will kick it off today with Ben Wright and follow with Jonathan Seagal and Tim Sullivan. Ben?
Yeah, Gary, you just touched on it, but could you just talk us through that system that you rolled out, especially with how kind of Randall fit in with that midfield trio? What did you make of those guys especially?
There's not a massive shift in overall sort of looks. Dax played more so as I wanted him more so as a bit of a front screen. I felt that if we could get those 3 midfield players into this game with their experience, knowing that the atmosphere and the quality of the game was going to be such that they would be a real benefit to the group. But in doing so, it obviously creates a slightly different look to the back line. But in essence, the 3 attacking players have still got a very similar job to do. There was, 1 or 2 things that Randall was asked to do, certain stages and areas of the field, and he carried out those orders and asks incredibly well, along with a lot of the other guys. I mean, I truly couldn't fault the way that the guys have gone about this. It's been a wonderful result, but also a very, very good performance here in a tough environment.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Awesome. Hi, Gary. Congrats on the result. Just wanted to ask about this introduction to the Western Conference for your team, and how you felt that you all confronted a Seattle team that, as I'm sure you're well aware, has been very highly rated, considering the talent that Garth and his staff have accumulated in Seattle.
Yeah, look, we came into this game incredibly respectful of what they've achieved here and in the past, and certainly who they've added and what they are capable of, that is for sure. They absolutely destroyed the team here in the week in the CONCACAF. I'm sure the confidence was high. And with a couple of games under their belt, I felt as though they would be, an even tougher test for us today, given that it's our first outing. There's many things that we want to try and achieve in these opening games. I think we've been able to tick a couple off the list tonight, but in all honesty, these early games and the early stages, whilst tonight will be very exciting, and I'm extremely pleased the way the group have performed, I truly don't think you get an idea of where the team's at, where you fit in. There's so many things that we have to try and overcome this year, especially in this first 8 games. No one's going to get too, overly excited about what's happened here tonight. It's the first game of the season. Unless someone's going to tell me we can win the league on the basis of this, we've just put ourselves in a nice spot, and we can move towards Minnesota next week in a confident vein. And of course, it makes a tough journey that much more enjoyable.
Tim, go ahead.
Oh, Gary, you're right. You guys get to win the league because of this game, actually. So,
good.
on a serious note, with the attacking talent that you guys have, that it's Anibals that gets the goal. What does that say about, I guess, maybe the different ways that you guys can score, and what did you see developing on that play, first with Teal's attempt and then Randall's cross? I
mean, in tight games, in very well matched games. There's never going to be loads of clear-cut chances. The fact that we limited them to 2 efforts on goal here in their own stadium is remarkable, really, the way the guys have gone about this. So I didn't ever expect that there were going to be lots of moments, but just hope that there might be one that we could force home, and we have. Teal's initial effort, I think, he didn't quite get hold of, and I think if I remember rightly, rebounded nicely and was recycled out to Randall, and he made a terrific choice. I mean, he could have got excited and tried to make the effort his own, but he finds a wonderful area and a player that you might not expect to be coming in on that back post goes in and keeps his nerve. But you normally find in these real competitive games that it's just that one moment, and tonight's been us.
Dre Hills with the next question.
Yeah, Gary, with Sean and the team, I'm curious to know, like, from a tactical standpoint, what did that do for Annabaugh? I'm not just in the sense of the goal and where he was in his position throughout the game, but obviously overall his defensive duties as well.
Well, I don't think any of us need to really get too bogged down with this. We had 3 very experienced midfield players playing in a midfield 3, and they needed to melt from Randall at times, and they got it. We shifted from a slightly narrower to a flattened 4-4-2 at times, but ultimately we've got 3 excellent midfield players. And by the way, an excellent young midfield player in Brian Anunga. But tonight it was those guys. It won't always be. It certainly looked like it was the right way to go about our business tonight and play those 3. And it's turned out that way. The fact that Annabaugh ended up scoring the winning goal is just the icing on the cake. But, he's played slightly to the left of that 3 today, but in a narrow fashion. There were times he got dragged out into the flanks, but, he's an experienced guy. He's played made over 100 appearances for his country. He's certainly aware and appreciative of the work he needs to get through and the positions he needs to pick up. And, we benefit massively from what those 3 guys have given the team tonight, along with some other incredible performances.
Please raise your hand if you have a follow-up questions. In the meantime, we'll continue with Claudia.
Gary, there was a point in the game that it seems like it was going to be a back and forth effort for both teams without many opportunities, but it seems like the team in the second half, especially after the first 10 minutes, kind of got control of the game for good, pretty much. Is that the way you felt it, or was it different from your point of view? Thank you.
I truly thought it was very evenly matched. I mean, I know there's a bit more emotion on the bench, but I thought it was very, very evenly, worked out the game in terms of efforts. I felt as though we managed some possession very well. That way, the incentive in their game, the catalyst for them is the ball. They love the ball, and they're very, very good with it if you allow them to have it for too long. And, part of the plan was to not let that happen. And the guys did a great job in doing so. But I think overall, the possession for them, the stats were slightly higher. You would expect that as an away team. But, in no way, shape or form did I feel at any point in time that they'd taken massive control and we were in a rear guard action. So, yeah, delighted with what we did with the ball, what we did without the ball. And like I said, we've managed to find a moment. It doesn't always happen, but tonight we found it.
We have follow-up questions from Dre Hills, Jonathan Seagal, Tim Sullivan, and Ben Wright. We'll continue in that order. Drake?
Yeah, Gary, you mentioned the control and having that momentum and keeping it for the majority of the game. When you just take a look at, obviously, the next 7, Obviously, it's not something that you can assume you'll have
able to do
all
today.
the time. But
and we've got Gary Smith now.
Go ahead, Drake. Apology.
Okay. Yeah, but essentially what I was asking Gary is, what does this mean in terms of exercising that control throughout this game? What does this mean for the next 7? I mean, how can you at least do your best to keep that going as you go on the road?
Well, look, each game's very, very different. Minnesota will be an incredibly tough game next week again. Everyone wants to take advantage of their home field. And there's been some good things that we've seen today out of the team. Likelihood is that might change a little bit. I'll take a deeper look at Minnesota. You've got to remember, all of these teams, nearly all of these teams, we've never run into before. We've only played Minnesota once. We've never played Seattle as an organisation. So therefore, there's going to be some feeling out, and there's got to be a lot more homework done on these teams. This precise moment is a great start. It's a confidence boost. It's a great feeling for the players. With a long 8-game road stretch, it was always important to try and get the first win on the board, and I'm truly grateful that it's come tonight. But I don't think we can get beyond ourselves here. It's early in the season. We've seen some good foundational pieces. I think as we grow as a team, you're seeing players that are more comfortable around one another and managing situations better. They're able to deal with the pressures of good attacks and good individual players. But they're also capable of getting on the front foot and showing some good pressing moments as well, and stealing the ball in better areas. But on top of all of that, they're making better choices when we need to keep the ball, not squandering it, not giving it back to talented players who are going to take advantage of it. And sometimes that's a tough choice, because there are moments to cross, to create and to maybe get a shot at goal. But if you're overstretching and you end up giving it back, then it can be very detrimental for the team in the long run. And tonight, the players made some very, very good choices.
Jonathan.
Gary, the other for me, and I might be getting philosophical here for a second, but Nashville has proven to be incredibly difficult to defeat on the road. As you know, in MLS, it tends to be just not that case. So what do you feel has been the biggest factor in allowing your team to find success on the road? And of course, it's something you'll have to lean harder into in preparation for May 1st.
Well, look, we're going to find out an awful lot about ourselves, internally, what we're made of, what the fiber's like deep down in the pit of our stomach, because 8 games on the road is not easy for anyone. And my hope is we can keep ourselves in a good position for what will be a terrific opening of our new stadium on May the 1st. But there's a lot of hard work to be done. What I will say is that this group of players are not just the guys that you're seeing on the field, but daily, and certainly as personalities, they're great characters. They've got great determination and terrific will. And that counts for an awful lot when you're on the road. There's so many things to contend with. Away crowd, quality teams, front foot approach from these teams. There's plenty that we've got to try and work our way through, and we will continue to have to do that. And there'll be times when we're on the back foot and we're in big trouble. But you find out a lot about people, about their personalities when you're in that position, and it can only stand us in good stead as we move forward.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, this is your first first win in the first game of the season in MLS. I know we talked last year just about some of the issues with starting slowly, and I know there's a lot of season left to play, and you're not going to want to get ahead of yourself. But is there a bit of relief here, just to get 3 points from the first game of the season, as well as against one of the better teams in the league?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of enjoyment in this. I may not look like I'm enjoying myself right now because, with the challenge that we've gone through to prepare for this, but for sure over the next couple of days, I'll certainly feel a hell of a lot better about it. But, you know, it's a really, really tough run that we have here. And yes, it's a box ticked off. We've got our first win under our belt. It will count for very little if we don't back it up and keep adding points to the board as we go through this tough run. Our challenge is to really compartmentalise each game, each opponent, each difficult scenario that we have to encounter. The guys have got to get back on a plane tonight and travel 5 hours and recover and then get ready again to go on Friday to Minnesota. And we've got to do that over and over again. And that's like Groundhog Day. And there's no doubt when we get to, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then into our last game, you can bet that, there's some mental difficulty as well as physical. So we've got an awful lot we've got to deal with. There's a lot that I have to consider in keeping the players fresh, in keeping the group in the right place, making the right choices. And, if the guys can manage to keep themselves in the sort of form they are tonight, I don't think we'll go too far wrong. But, it doesn't take an awful lot to be complacent and to shift the other side of the fence and be too easy to play against. The game was won tonight because we were tough to play against.
Team Sullivan with the final question.
Gary, obviously it's just a very small sample size, but your set piece defending was on point tonight. Was there anything that you guys changed in terms of your approach from last year? Or is that just kind of a matter of getting out and executing?
Well, if you look around the group, there's very little change to the same guys that were out there. Again, as you said, one game, but one game that we can build on. Everyone understands and realises, I think the real disappointment of the way that we, defended dead balls last year. I think there's a tremendous amount of pride in this group, and they're doing everything they can to show the right attitude. And it's nothing more than that. We have enough big, physically capable, strong, determined bodies to get the job done. It can only be down to attitude. And the attitude tonight was spot on.
Alrighty, thank you everybody for today's time. We'll continue with Anibals Godoy.
Okay. Tengo que mirar acá.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. We are today joined by Anibals Godoy, the goal scorer. Anibals, your thoughts on tonight's game and your goal? How did it happen?
First one, I think we do a really good job. All the team working hard. It's a difficult place to play here. I feel great because it's my first goal, I think, in 15 months with Nashville. And it's a great moment for me, and we need to continue to try to work in for the next game.
We'll continue with Team Sullivan with the first question. A reminder for everybody to please raise your hand if you have a question for Anibals. Team, go ahead.
Yeah, Anibal, when the ball cycled back out to Randall on that play, and you made the back post run, did you think the ball was going to make it through all that traffic and get to you?
I think I made it wrong only to try to go to the box, but Randall played really good ball. And also before the goal, he played really good ball with Theo, and Randall have a very good vision. This is why I trust to try to go in the box, and he put great ball for me.
We'll continue with Ray Hills.
Yeah, Annabaugh, what was it like? Talk to me about playing with Sean and Dax. Obviously, you're used to playing with Dax, but in a midfield three, what was it like for you?
Shawnee is an amazing player. He's working hard, run a lot. And Dax, everybody knows, this guy is really good player. Is the other word, this guy always without ball, with the ball, put the calm for the team, help the team in both sides to the field. And Sean also is good shape for all the three in the middle, all the three working hard, try to running a lot. This is why we have the last year very good season because everybody working hard, and not only the three midfielder, also the three forward, all the defender. This is why we need to continue.
Claudio Villalobos with the final question of the night.
Gracias, Cristina. Aníbal, muy parecida a la pregunta que te hace Drake, pero en español. Cuesta mucho que haya una conexión tan rápida entre tres jugadores en medio sector de un equipo como la que se vio hoy entre vos y Dax y Sean. ¿Cómo se ha logrado eso tan rápido? ¿Y qué se sintió esa conexión de Paso Canoas con el gol de Randall, el pase de Randall?
Bueno, sí, creo que, como lo dije, ha sido importante la inclusión de Sean en este equipo. Le da mucha energía, a Dax le da calma, le da eso que necesitamos dentro de la cancha. Entonces creo que por ahí no ha ido bien en el primer partido, esto recién comienza, y Randall siempre es un jugador distinto, siempre sale con algo distinto en cualquier momento. Entonces creo que por ahí le creí un poco en la bola que mete. Siempre él trata de buscar esa pelota, entonces creo que yo nada más traté de pisar el área y bueno, afortunadamente me quedó el balón ahí y la pude meter.
Thank you everybody for your time today and congratulations